I refuse, point blank, to script this. And I'm going to regret it. First thing. It was going to be a video about War Games fairs. I went to a War Games fair over the weekend. And I had great fun. It was great. I did enjoy it. But I just kept thinking about what it didn't have that I had in my first War Games fair I went to. And on the way back, it's quite a long journey back, and I was thinking, yeah, now there's shows. It's a War Games show. And what we went to in the 70s were War Games fairs. Almost like a celebration of the hobby. And then I thought, well, actually, I only know that's true from the experiences of the one or two shows I actually went to, because I was a kid. I didn't have transport. These things were miles away. I didn't have the money. So what does that tell me? We got excited about the fairs. They were a big event. For somebody like me, they were a bigger event than going to see a live band, for example, in the 70s. But I thought, well, yeah, but so was getting the Hinchcliffe miniature figurines catalogue. Because we couldn't go online just at the drop of a hat. We had to make an effort to get things. Now, you are now thinking, oh, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Well, now we're a lad. If everything were better when I were a lad. No, I'm not saying that. Well, I am saying that, but I'm not saying that directly. What I'm saying is, things were better. I'm going to say it now, right? This is dead deep and philosophical, right? This is going to make your head hurt. Things were better because they were worse. Right? Do you remember, I digress, do you remember them days when you'd go out in the morning, summer holidays, first day of summer holidays, and you'd get a brilliant stick, and that stick would keep you going all summer. You could dig holes with it, you could poke your mate with it. If you fancied a girl, you could give her a good tickle with it, and then run away. Oh, chase me. It was a gun, it was a sword, not a lightsaber, a sword. Went to the lightsaber, my ear rolls. You could whittle it, you could make it into like a totem and carve things around it. You could sit by the fire with a sausage on it. My mate, no, this lad I knew, who, whatever was in fashion, had the best. But it was one of them kids, it weren't so much him as his family, but one of them where he could play with one thing. So he could play with his soldiers or his Lego. But he couldn't have both. To get his Lego out, he had to put all his soldiers away. All his Matchbox cars were perfect in the boxes they'd come in. But he couldn't even put his cars in the toy garage because they were two different toys. See what I'm going at here? I'm sure those things now, he'll turn up on something like the Antique Roadshow and they'll go, ooh, mint condition. Gazing! Have a gazillion pounds. Reality was, toys for playing with, aren't they? I don't know where I've gone now. I've proper gone down a rabbit hole. But he got, oh, that's right, I had my stick, right? I've got my stick. Quite happy with this stick, it's a dead good stick. He got a Johnny 7, and it was a big gun, and it came to bits. And you had 7 different guns, and you could stick them all together and have one big gun. I was green with envy. But I made the mistake then of he let me have a go on it, by which he gave it me to hold for about 4 seconds and took it off me. And then I wasn't happy with my stick anymore. Stick. But I had been until I got that in my hand. I was perfectly happy with my stick. Wargame fairs, shows, events were a massive event. It got us excited. We talked about them at school. I mean, the fact that you even heard about them was a mystery. As wargamers, we'd find Donald Featherstone's skirmish book, or you'd look in the Airfix magazine, you'd see what figures they'd got, or you'd dream of getting the Roman fort, or the castle, or the D-Day fortification with that little pillbox, because you couldn't afford them. You could not afford them. You were not getting them. You have to make your own out of plasticine and dirt in the garden. And you might have regretted that, but you didn't get, because nowadays you'd just go, oh, well, here we go, let me buy one of them. You then didn't learn the skills or have the fun or develop the imagination that you needed to get round the fact that you couldn't afford the rotten things, or that they didn't even exist. I remember my middle brother, when Miniature Figurines first brought out their Tolkien range, and they brought out goblins sat on what they call wargs. But you couldn't get goblins on foot. You could later, but right at the start you couldn't. So you got a warg and you got a goblin, and his legs were bowed to go round his warg. You follow me? But to try and get infantry, my brother glued those onto bases so they all looked like they'd got rickets. And he wrote a letter. How old would he have been? About 10, 11? He actually wrote a letter with a pen and paper and everything to Miniature Figurines, saying, why don't you bring some figures out that are goblins infantry, not just goblins riding. Now, he did that because you couldn't get goblins walking. You could get different goblins. You could get these lads. So you've seen these. You could get them. Well, that's not what he wanted. They're not the same as the goblins riding the wargs. These are the goblins that you could get riding wargs. And you can see how they fit on bendy legs. You know the system, you're not daft. Nowadays, there are things everywhere. I remember, I'm pretty sure it was John Lydon, Johnny Rotten, said back in the 70s, it was really hard to make music as a musician. You had to have money. But because of that, only a few people could do it. And it was an aim that most of us could not have realised. Nowadays, everyone can record. You can record on your phone. I'm making this YouTube video. It's accessible. But because of that, there are millions of us doing it. So it's as hard to find a musician's music or my YouTube channel as it used to be when they were rare because of the technical or financial restraints upon the system. Now there's too many. Now they are needles in stacks of needles. Whereas before there used to be needles in haystacks, or perhaps golden thimbles. When something happened that was accessible, like local wargames fair, my first one, Elmfield House Youth Club, Doncaster, that was the where wargames club was. Come on, we're having a fair. Oh, fantastic. And it was a celebration. It was treats. It was games that you hadn't seen anywhere else. Partly because you'd never been anywhere, but partly because they invented games for the show. People gave you free rules everywhere you went. Oh, what are you playing? Playing chainmail. Oh, what's that? I was absolute the rules. We banded them off. Didn't even have photocopies. One of them that smelled of paraffin or some meths. Oh. People like you go to the dice stall and they'd have dice. I mean, they still do it some places. Plymouth down here, and they had special dice. with a paw. The show was called Paw. So they had a little blue paws on where they should be a 6. Good. I remember I went to Wargames Fair in the 80s, and you went in and they gave you a little toy Viking, 28mm Viking, gripping beast. I don't know, but anyway, you got a free one. I've got 2 identical ones because my mate didn't like Dark Ages, and I do, so he gave me his. So I've got 2. But there were special things, or there were things you could only get at the show, and to bring out, you know, a rarefied thing from a range. Get this here, and you couldn't get it anywhere else. Or they'd launch games and rules at the game. They wouldn't do it before. At the game, there used to be speakers used to come and tell you things. Now, I don't go to the big massive conventions. So the big massive conventions around the world are probably still like this. I can only comment on what I can comment on, and I can't comment on what I don't know. And what I don't know is a lot. But on that general feeling of wargaming isn't as good as it used to be, generally, I think it feels disappointing to some of us older people because it's not new anymore. It's like your first kiss. It's not the best kiss you're ever going to get in the world, is it? But it'll always be the first one. Ta-da, Chuck.